Welcome everyone to Boulder Punch Podcast. Today's episode will be titled Legacy Remade. We'll be talking about one of the most iconic Resident Evil games ever made, which is Resident Evil number 2. And we're going to talk about the upcoming remake. This podcast is hosted by me, Rezi, and today joining me from Resident Evil Biohazard page, we have Tofu.
Hi everyone.
Itchy Tasty.
Hello everybody.
And Yawn.
Hello.
Oh, welcome guys. Right, so before we talk about Resident Evil 2 remake, let's have a little chat about the original game. I know in the first podcast I had a little brief chat about many of the first Resident Evil titles, but we'll go into a bit more depth about 2. So maybe go around and let's talk about everyone's individual first impressions of Resident Evil games. So we'll start with you, Yawn. What do you think when you first played it?
Oh, Resident Evil. To be honest, it was Resident Evil I played. And, I mean, just the overall impression was, I thought I was a lunatic with a gun chasing down zombies. I was so excited the first time that I got that game and loaded it into the PlayStation. I was like, oh man, I don't even know how to explain it really. It kind of caught me off guard for a second.
You can tell the excitement in your voice.
I was a kid in a candy store, that was for sure.
How about you, Tofu? Similar experience?
Yeah, I loved it when as I spoke about before, my first experience with the games was watching my dad play them. But when I eventually got to play them myself, it felt like I was playing it for the first time. Yeah, absolutely loved it. My favourite would obviously be Claire. I mean, I always played through Claire's playthrough. I think I only played Leon's once just to say that I'd finished the whole game.
Okay, we'll touch on that in a bit then. So, Itchy Tasty, how about you?
Oh man, I love Resident Evil 2. I remember when I first fired it up. You see the big eyeball and the little cutscene and everything, and I really wasn't sure who to pick first. There was 2 different people. I didn't recognize the names because they were new characters, but I ended up starting with Claire. And after that really cool cutscene that you get at the beginning where they get separated, you're just in a street full of zombies. It's like way more than you ever had to deal with in the first one. And I was just like, wow. I don't remember if I died. I know I got grabbed a few times just trying to get through those streets.
Get to the gun shop, isn't it?
Like, it almost kind of takes the exploration away from you. It's like you don't have time to look for anything. You just need to run.
Yeah, definitely run straight away. Sorry, go on. No, sorry, I'm cutting you short. Go on.
I mean, that's a standout memory, just getting thrown into it like that. I mean, it was almost like they did everything that the original Resident Evil did, but they did it on a very large scale. It's like we're going to do it, everything we did bigger and better, and that it worked on so many levels. It worked. I know it consumed a lot of my life when I first played it.
Yeah, because I've never really thought about it like that way. But if you do look at Resident Evil, the first game, it was set in a mansion, and it is a stark contrast, isn't it? Like, thrust straight in the city, and it's not even like at the beginning of an outbreak. If you get me, it's already the city is devastated, isn't it?
Yes.
So you said we'll just touch on it dead quick. You say about playing Claire, and we're going to go into the characters in a minute. But does everyone kind of always go Claire A, Leon B? Yeah, because I'm like that, because I think Capcom have said, haven't they, that Claire A and Leon B is the actual canon story. So if you play it the other way around, it doesn't quite feel right anymore, in my opinion. What do you think?
No. My first round, I actually did Leon. Only because, I don't know, I wanted to be a cop, so I was like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. So you got chased by with Mr. X when you were Claire then, yeah? In your first one. See, I think you're probably the first person I've ever known, really, who was gone Leon person. I think all my friends, they all went Claire.
Yeah, it was always a Leon plan.
Yeah. See, I don't know if everyone went Claire though, because on the first one I can't remember if you did. I know you did on the remake. It's been ages since I played the original, but you had two extra. You could carry two extra items as Jill, couldn't you, in the first game?
Yes.
Compared to Chris. So I think maybe that's why a lot of people kind of always automatically went Claire, thinking that they could maybe carry more. But I think it's the same, isn't it?
Well, when I played, I think I played Claire's A first, and then went and played Leon's A chapter as well, so I could then go and play
that's just
Claire's
crazy.
B chapter without, yeah, because I really wanted to play as Claire. I enjoyed Claire, so I had no interest in playing more of the game as.
Okay,
Leon.
well, lead on to the second question, which you've kind of touched on a bit. Is did you like the lead characters? Obviously, in fact, we'll go to Itchy Tasty on this.
Claire Redfield is my favorite character in all of Resident Evil. If all the games going forward were just her, I'd be just fine with that.
Yeah.
But I like Leon too. I mean, he's not on the same level as her. I mean, I think he's had more games now, but well, maybe not. I don't. I'd have to sit down and think about it.
I'm going to sit down and think while you're talking.
But I really don't want to count Revelations 2 because that's another story. We'll talk about that some other time. But Claire Redfield, she just I don't know if it's the voice actress Allison Court that does it. I mean, I don't know. She just I mean to play Resident Evil 2 after spending so much time with Resident Evil 1 and just Claire to just completely and totally push Jill to the side for me. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. How about you, Yawn? What did you think?
Going in, you know what? I love both characters dearly. I mean, even to this day, they're both a big part of my childhood. So Leon, like I said earlier, was always my favorite. And then Claire, see, she didn't really touch right with me at first, and that was because I saw the last name Redfield, and I just, I was like, okay, she's probably going to be familiar, she's going to be the same as her brother. I wasn't expecting her to be kind of like a schoolgirl type element. I was expecting her, to be like a brother kind of team, and I was expecting her to be, how he is, heavy artillery pretty much, and ready to go. And then when I actually started playing it, and I realized that, okay, she's wearing a pair of shorts and a shirt. All right, what can she do that the guy, next to her that has all these gun holsters and stuff can't do? Leon's ready to go for this. She's, biker clothing. And so that was my first one. And then when you actually get into the gameplay of Claire, I don't know, you just kind of Itchy Tasty said, you kind of fall in love with her.
Yeah, I think I was the same, to be honest. I was expecting pretty much what you said. Actually, it was quite strange. Expecting like a Sarah Connor type of Terminator 2. She's going to go around machine guns, rocket launchers, and she's quite vulnerable at the beginning. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people take into her. And you see her progress with the story, and she's kind of thrust in this nightmare. So we'll go back to you. Tofu, obviously you said you're not a big Leon fan. If you want to go in a bit details of why you wasn't.
Well, I don't really know a reason per se as like why I didn't like Leon. It was just when I first sat down and played the game, the first disc that I picked up was Claire's disc, and I usually do play female characters if I have a choice, just because I think I prefer playing female characters. But
okay, well, let's talk about. Sorry, do you want to add some more to your taste here?
Yeah, I have one more thing to say. I think another reason that Claire kind of resonates with the audience is because once she meets Sherry, they're in a zombie apocalypse, and everybody's trying to survive. But Claire, it's almost like Claire is just, as soon as she sees any child, she's got to drop everything she's doing and make sure that child is safe no matter what. And she doesn't even have kids. You're just like, it's that natural she's like a natural mother.
I think you've really touched on something there, to be honest, like this mothering nature about it, which makes her likable, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the reason why she resonated with me. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, cool. Well, we'll just move on, because it's pretty much like that question, but we're going to flip it around a bit. We're going to talk about the antagonist in the game. Obviously, there was two, but the main one was William Birkin. What do you guys think of William Birkin? Did he play an effective role as a villain?
Okay, I'll go. I really bought it. Usually in those kinds of stories, the scientists that are working on those experiments, they're really into their work. And when you see that cutscene where they're coming in with guns blazing and they're going to take it from him, they're going to take his life's work from him, and he's sitting there with that vial in his hand, and he's like, "I'll show these guys," and he just injects it into himself. I thought that was really, I bought it. I was like, yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I liked it. It was really enjoyable. And then, you get to go through the game watching that virus destroy his body and just turn it into something completely different. I mean, it was really cool.
It was cool seeing him constantly mutate, wasn't it? Every time you come against him as a boss, he always had few extra limbs to him.
Yeah, I thought it was cool as well how they in that one cutscene they showed how the virus spread throughout the city. Like it was on the floor and the rats started.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what about you, Yawn? Big fan of William Birkin, or not so much?
Of course, which I think William Birkin kind of led into the whole Nemesis thing, which we'll talk about later. But I think they got a good aspect, because if you watch through, you're running through the game, he pops up in random places. Yeah, he's not chasing you through the game, but he does pop up in the most random places. And then the fact that you have his daughter, and that's what he wants, because he wants to plant his seed in his daughter, as bad as that comes out. Just kind of takes the whole game and just throws it out of whack, because it's just like, now you're being chased because you have this little girl that you want to protect. And I mean, hands up for Claire, though, because at that point I think I would have probably been like, you know what, hey, this is what you want, my survival, take her, go ahead, she's yours.
Oh wow.
No worries. Okay, so Ada Wong also made her first appearance in Resident Evil 2. She has a really strong following in Resident Evil series. Did you take to her as well? Was she a favourite from when the first time you seen her? We'll go for you, Tofu.
Yeah, I actually really liked Ada. I thought she was badass. Like the way she sort of appears and disappears as she sees fit. Really mysterious. I really liked her character design as well.
Yeah, how about you, Yawn? Are you an Ada fan?
Ada, I really wasn't a fan of her in the beginning until, believe it or not, I became a fan of her when Umbrella Chronicles came out, and you kind of got to see, they did that little extra story where you see her actually run through the city, getting where she is, Leon drops her because she's, apparently dead. And then, Wesker go and help her out. And then at that point, I started liking her when I realized she was on Wesker's side.
Yeah.
And started working for Umbrella.
Yeah, how about you, Itchy Tasty?
Honestly, I've never liked Ada, ever. I've always kind of felt like...
Don't hold back.
I've always kind of felt like that she just uses whoever's convenient for her to get her own, to further her own ends. Like you find out that she was the whole time in Resident Evil 2 just trying to get the G virus sample. And, I know her and Leon have those touching moments, but I almost feel like that it's just acting with her. She's just like, oh, well, he's cute, but I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and if it works out between us, so be it. But if not, I'm the most important in the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably didn't help that I kind of really liked Claire at that point in the game. It's like Claire was my woman. There's If I had to pick, it's going to be Claire.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty much the same with Yawn, actually. She's kind of grown on me, and at first I was a big fan of Claire. And then when it went into 4, you get to see like the like I don't know, the chemistry with Leon, and then it was quite nice as a separate ways on 4 when you get to see a bit more of Ada. And then recently, I mean, I played it when it first come out, and I've been playing Dark Side Chronicles as well, and it is nice to see a different side to her. I mean, you wouldn't trust her as a girlfriend because you kind of don't know what she's thinking, but she is definitely a fascinating character. So we're just going to go on about just generally about Resident Evil 2. Is there any parts that really stood out to you? I mean, what made it that definitive Resident Evil classic?
Oh wow, there's quite a few standout moments, but I liked that they continued the tradition that Resident Evil tends to have with destroying helicopters, because you get that cut scene up on the roof of the police station where it wasn't even a zombie that took down the helicopter. It was the guy that was trying to get the helicopter to throw him a ladder. He accidentally shot the guy that was piloting the helicopter, and it crashes into the building. That was pretty cool. And we've already talked about it, but William Birkin's, like, he basically, when you first see him, that's the final boss, but he transforms throughout the entire game. So it's like every time you see him, it's like, what is he going to do next? You know, he's gonna have more arms, more legs? I mean, that was pretty fascinating to me. I don't think I'd ever seen a game do that. Show you the final boss, about halfway into the game, and then you just keep fighting him, and he's just harder and harder each time.
Yeah, cool. So, what about you, Yawn? We'll go to you.
I mean, he pretty much touched all details that I was even thinking about. Is the fact, like he said, you're playing, the boss you get is Mr. William Birkins himself, and he just gets harder and harder each time. I mean, but I also like the fact that he's not just the only boss. I liked with the first one, they had Yawn the snake, which was amazing, and then number 2 they have this giant alligator, and number 3 they have a giant worm, and it's like I like that. I like those bosses. Those bosses stood out to me. Keep bringing animals and mutating them.
Yeah. Smashes through the wall.
One other thing we have to mention, I'm sure fans will be really upset if we don't talk about it. The introduction of the liquor.
That was another really good.
You first go through that hallway. I mean, you actually in the room before you, that L-shaped hallway where you see it for the first time. If you come as soon as you go into that last camera angle before you walk in the door, you can see it crawl across the window.
Yeah,
it happens really fast, and I remember the first time I actually saw it, I was like, "What was that?" And then you go through the door, and then the camera's pointed right at you, but you can see the window frame, like something outside the window is looking at your character, and you only get I
like the sound it makes as well.
I don't know if anybody noticed that, but you don't get that camera angle ever again. Just that one time. If you go back and play it again, you'll notice. And then you go through that hallway, and he or she, whoever you pick, they look up and they're like, "Oh my goodness!" I don't remember what they say, but you see it walk across the ceiling and just stick its tongue out. I mean, that's pretty iconic.
Oh, it was. To be honest, that was one of my favorite parts in the game when I first seen the liquor. The game just kept on giving for me. I mean, William Birkin, seeing him change, the locations. I thought it was a brilliant balance of like police station and the sewers, and then I can't even think. Where are we? Is it the labs at the end? Can't even think what it's called. Facility. I can't think what it was. And then I love too the way they introduced Mr. X. I remember the first time I seen him, and I was like, "What the hell?" Just running. And when he went through the wall, like you touched on, Tofu, I thought that was brilliantly done. But let's talk about, just before we move on to the remake. Is there any parts that you didn't like in 2 that you wish that wasn't really in it, or could have done better? No, go on, carry on. If you want to go first.
The Sherry parts where you had to play as Sherry, I found annoying more than anything else. Because it was always dogs, wasn't it, that she had to deal with when picking up the chest plugs. You couldn't dodge. She was too slow, so she would just take loads of damage.
Okay, I'm just wondering any further input from you, Yawn, or Itchy Tasty about that?
No, I love the game completely. Like, I don't think I would change anything.
Yeah, probably the only thing I would change in it if I played it now is quick turn. At the time, it didn't bother me, but when you play the Nemesis and then you go back to no quick turn, it would have been a bit nice. But apart from that, there's not really anything that I would change, to be honest. Just finally, one last question: What was your favourite area in the game? Mine was obviously the police station. Just love it. What about yours? You can just go through. We'll go through Yawn first.
You know what? Mine was the police station as well. And then, because they touched on that again in number 3, it was just, I don't know, just something always about the police station. Even if you play Umbrella Corps and you go into that police station, you're just like, yes.
It's very iconic now. It's pretty much up there with the mansion, isn't it?
Yeah, that, and I mean, it kind of hits you because of police station. When you think police, you're thinking safety. That's where I go to be safe. And then you go in there, and it's just overran with zombies, and you're just, I don't know, it just takes all that sense of safetyness away from you.
Yeah, how about you, Itchy Tasty? Pretty much the same feel?
Yeah, wow. I mean, to change anything in that game, I mean, to say that I would have done something different is, I don't think I can. I can't think of anything that they didn't do, if not perfect, they did it good enough, to where there really isn't a need to change it. I mean, barring what you said, the quick turn, we didn't even have that yet. I mean, that wasn't even a concept they'd dreamed up yet. So, I mean, you can't even fault them on that. But what he said about the police station being safety, it makes me remember when you're running through that long hallway with all the boarded up windows, and then the zombies' arms start sticking through. It's like a jump scare.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of touches on what he says. It's like you think it's safe because all the windows are boarded up, and then here comes the zombies. They're trying to get through. But favorite area, it's really hard to pick anything but the police station because, I mean, after that it's like the sewers and then the underground lab.
Yeah.
Really isn't a whole lot of scenery outside or interesting scenery, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Outside of the police station.
Cool. And sorry, I was going to say pretty much same thing. And it's pretty. I don't know if you ever played. Obviously, Yawn. You mentioned it before. You played Dark Side Chronicles. It's a pretty cool little bit with Chief Irons, isn't it? When you fight him as a boss, which isn't in the game.
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty neat. I think that would be something with the remake that they should probably incorporate, is because you know in the regular game you get to meet Chief Irons and he's just a psychotic lunatic and he's getting ready to stuff the gal up on the table, and it's just like, okay, and then you get to Dark Side Chronicles, and he talks about stuffing her, and all of a sudden he turns into this monster, and then you have to fight him, and you get, thrown into a pit of blood and stuff like that. So, I mean, and I think when the 2 remake comes around, that's something that they should incorporate. Add a couple more bosses, because there's nothing in the game that I would want to take away, but there's so much in the game that I would want to add,
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely go into that when we touch on, because there's obviously we're going to go into the Resident Evil 2 remake now. It was announced last year by Capcom that the game was being developed. Before we talk about what to expect in the remake, what was your initial thoughts when you heard the news that the Capcom are finally making Resident Evil 2 remake? We'll go to you. Itchy Tasty.
I was so relieved. I was like, finally. I remember seeing it on Facebook and Twitter where the guy had I don't know if you guys saw it. It was basically an employee at Capcom. He had a folder. It said Biohazard 2 on it, and it was in Japanese, I believe. And he put it on his. I mean, they translated his post to say, "All right, guys, I'm going in with the presentation. I'm going to go ask and see if we can do this. Get this remake greenlit."
Yeah.
And then he comes out. I think 2 or 3 hours later, he updates with, "They said yes," and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, finally!" I was happy. Still am.
And pretty much excitement for you as well, Yawn.
Yeah, it was Yawn. I mean, I didn't get to see the him going in with the Biohazard 2 folder. What I saw was it was an interview, and I believe it was actually about the remake, and they didn't really touch on anything if they were going to add or anything. But all I saw was that Resident Evil 2 in the screen with that giant eyeball in the back of it on the TV screen, and I'm like, yes. I mean, I remember jumping up, and I was like, yeah. And my wife,
I pretty much done the same.
Like I'm a lunatic, but
no, when I first seen it, it was literally, I swear to God, yes, get in there! I was spinning around. I was like the excited. I was like a little kid on Christmas Eve. That's how I felt. But
I mean, they've got to do something big with it when it comes out. I mean, let's throw a freaking party, something.
But yeah, so we'll go into obviously it's been the remake for the GameCube came out in, I'm thinking 2001 off the top of my head. Does that seem about right to you guys?
2002, if you're talking
2002. About I was pretty close. It seems years away. But so obviously with the Remake 2 has been announced, why now? Anyone want to lead any thoughts on this?
I'm going to take a different approach to your question. Why did they wait until now? I mean,
fair enough, yeah.
We've obviously been. I mean, the hardcore audience would have signed up for this a long time ago. Why did it take this long for Capcom to think, hey, that might be a good idea? Remake Resident Evil 2. I mean, it is a pretty outstanding game. And a lot of people like it. And we are I will say that we are in an age of nostalgia right now. It seems like, the PS4 and Xbox One came out, and all these companies have been doing is just remastering the old games, Capcom included.
Yeah.
I get.
So I think maybe they thought, well, we'll hold on to the remake. So when we announce Resident Evil 7 and it's first person and everyone goes mental about it, we can say, well, hold on, we're also remaking 2, so calm down.
Any thoughts on it, Yawn?
I mean, I agree with both of them. I'm pretty sure they probably could have made it earlier. They could have probably green-lighted it to go. But I'm happy that they waited until now, because look at all the new graphics, all the engines they can use, and then it makes me wonder, because with 7 they built their own engine. They built the Resi engine. It wasn't, they're not using Unreal, they're not using any of that. They have their own engine for it. So are they going to use their own engine that they're using for 7 to redo number 2, or are they going to use someone else's engine? That's what I'm curious about.
Oh, fair enough. See, my opinion is, I always think of Capcom. They've got this office, and they've got these people around who are making decisions. And I can always visualize, there's like, in case of emergency, there's a little box with Resident Evil 2 sitting inside and a hammer. And I just think after 6 they've all gone up and smashed this box open. And I think it's that kind of, they've always had that there, and I think they could have rushed and remade it, but they've always known, no matter what, if the series is ever in trouble, they've got this remake and it can bring life back into the series. And I think it kind of after 6, and I think obviously they have to go for 7, but I think it was their kind of fail-safe. And I think in a way it's kind of worked because everyone's got that excitement back for Resident Evil. So we just hope that needs to pay off, really. I wonder if there actually is a case. By the way, if anyone from Capcom is ever watching this going, how does he know about the case?
Somebody's being fired. They're like, somebody's leaking information. Fire that guy.
We'll never see him again.
So no footage obviously has not been shown yet. So what do you expect in terms of, I mean, first person, could it be first person, third person, fixed cameras, or is it going to go like maybe Code Veronica where it's fixed cameras but with the ability to move a little bit? Any thoughts on that? Do you want to go to Yawn? Any ideas?
You asking us what we want or what we think we'll do?
What do you think it is going to be? Yeah, and you can also include what you want.
I want a choice because I don't know how I'm going to feel, because Resident Evil 2 worked so well with the way that the cameras and everything were set up for that game. But that, at the time, look at the graphics, what generation was that? Is it going to work well with today's graphics? But I mean, like, if you look at Resident Evil 4 works so well with the over-the-shoulder camera. And it's just, I don't know, today's graphics, will that fit? I mean, yeah, it fits perfect with the Resident Evil 1 HD remaster. Same with 0. You know, they worked out perfect the way they were. But then again, those aren't today's graphics as well.
Yeah. But saying that, I do think the remake, I certainly think it holds up well in terms of atmosphere, the lighting effect, the shadows, anything. Imagine what they could do if that was 14 years ago they made that. So they probably would start making that 16 years ago in technology-wise. Imagine what they could do now with that type of style.
Yeah, but I mean, have you guys, any of you guys went on and saw that, I don't remember the guy's name, but if I did, I'd give him all the credit. But he did the remake, started remaking 2. Yeah. And he was going to do it as a fan game. I mean, just looking at what he did, and his was more, he was going for a learning experience. This was all learning experience, and look how beautifully his is turning out.
Yeah.
And he gives you the choice in the option menu. You can go over the shoulder, you can go first person view, you can go third person. You know, he has all the options laid out there for you in the menu. So I mean,
I thought it was a nice. Sorry, can I just touch on that very quickly? I just thought it was a nice thing as well that when they announced the remake, didn't they invite that person or a few people who worked on that game to the Capcom office to discuss?
That did happen.
Yeah, they I guess Capcom contacted him when they got the green light for Resident Evil 2, and they're like, hey, you know what? We'd like you to not distribute or do anything with your game because I mean, if he's releasing his for free because it's a fan-made game, he can't make any money off of it, and then they release the same game, and it's like, I think I'll go with the free one. Me personally, I'm going to go with Capcom because I've always been a big supporter of what they do.
Yeah.
But instead of, just... What was that?
I was just going to say, unfortunately, not everybody is that, faithful to the brand.
Yeah.
They'll just take a free one over the main, the official.
Of course. I mean, that's just human nature, though. But what I was going to say is that instead of, attacking this guy for making this fan-made game, they're like, hey, well, why don't you and your team come and sit with us and we can bounce the ideas off each other's heads because we like what you're doing. So that's another thing that, like I said, I love Capcom because that's how they look at it. It's not, hey, you're stealing our idea. It's, let's bounce ideas.
I think I would definitely be disappointed if at least the option for third person isn't there. I don't really mind either way if it is first person or third person, or with the Code Veronica style of camera. I think maybe a compromise between new and old would be the Code Veronica style of fixed camera, so you could still get some movement in it.
I think for me, to be honest, I just want fixed camera. No options for nothing else. You're playing it this way. Enjoy. But that's my opinion.
Without, yeah.
Well, with me, I've thought about this, and if there's only going to be one, like say if they only went with one of those, I would pick the old, like the remake style with the fixed cameras. But I know they're not going to do that because they're going to want as many people to buy this game as possible. I think the most realistic assumption is going to be that it's going to be like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. It's probably going to control like that. And maybe first person, they could, follow up with Resident Evil 7 and do it that way. But I think that it'd be a very, very big missed opportunity if they don't at least have it as an unlockable feature. Like, say, you beat the game once and you unlock fixed camera mode, and then you can play the game the way, it was back then. All they really have to do is just, pick the spots that the camera needed to sit. I mean, it would not be very hard to do fixed camera after you've built the game in 3D.
I do think, though, I would be very, very much devastated, if I'm being honest, if it was third person. But, I mean, we'll have to see, or if it isn't included. But I'll be honest, I don't want everyone to have different experiences with the game. I like everyone to play it like fixed cameras and just play something new. Because probably a lot of people haven't played fixed camera games.
Yeah. I think they run the risk of losing a lot of old fans as well if they don't at least put the option of fixed camera in a Resident Evil 2 remake, because I think a lot of the purists, like the people who played 1, 2, 3 remake, that was something that really defined.
The original game had many extended sections and introduced new enemies like Lisa Trevor and Crimson Heads.
I think maybe
do you see any new threats being added into 2?
Oh.
Or sections?
I
or,
was just go ahead. You can go first, but I'd like to weigh in on this one for sure.
Oh, go on then. He's been very forceful. We'll let you go with your tasty. Sorry.
Well, the fact that Resident Evil 2 happens in between, like Resident Evil 3 starts, and then when Jill gets knocked out, Resident Evil 2 happens, and then Jill wakes up again and to finish Resident Evil 3, and then the city gets nuked. I think it would be really cool if they found a way to, like maybe not directly have the Nemesis cross paths with those characters, because that changes things, and the Nemesis wouldn't even go after them anyway. They're not STARS members. So, but I mean, just maybe you see him, like an Easter egg, like, hey, I know who that is. That's the Nemesis.
What would be a cool moment would be, imagine like the Nemesis goes down a corridor and William Bacon's on the other end of the corridor, and they kind of both eye each other up, and they're both big creatures, and they kind of go on with the way, if you get me.
They both walk their own way, like
yeah, or
Mr.
Like they
have
X
a mutual
or something
respect for each other.
Yeah, or Mr. X or something like that, and they're kind of thinking, shall I beat him up? Or one's thinking, no, he looks quite big. Oh no, I'll carry on doing what I'm doing. But that would be such an amazing moment if that happened. Yeah, I like to see the Crimson Heads come back as well, maybe. And I also think it would be nice if they left the police station but then go back again. But remember, like we were talking about it in I don't know which podcast we were talking about it. It might be in the first one where they go back to the mansion and then the hunters appeared. It would be maybe quite interesting if they kind of done a little nod to that. When you go back to the police station, you go off into this little section that's new, and you go back and there's a new, more powerful creature that we haven't seen before, just to kind of give it a new dynamic in the police station.
Or maybe different types of liquors, like that could be the Crimson Head of that game, like a liquor and then a more powerful liquor later on in the game. Maybe that.
As long as it's not that stupid big liquor from the film. what film was it? Was it
the first one?
Was it the first one? Oh yeah,
yes.
They had the first one, and then it come back, didn't it, on the last one, didn't it? Oh god, yeah. Yeah. So, any thoughts, Yawn, about what we're talking about, extended stuff?
Ooh, I mean, one did it correctly. When they did the remake, they added the whole side story. You can go out. You had that little stone where you had to put the green arrowhead in, run down to put the mask on, and then you got to fight the Crimson Head Elder. So, I mean, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they added the whole Lisa Trevor story, which was something completely new. And like you said, expand it a little bit. Go outside of the police department. the city a little bit bigger for Claire and Leon. You know, add another story. You know, go out there and maybe I don't know. Have you guys ever seen like I don't know, the 1.5? How like a lot of fans brought that together and put it up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a scene in there where they go into the boardroom and the monkeys from like Zero break through the window.
Yeah.
I don't know. Add the monkeys. I think the monkeys would be a wonderful touch to that because you're in the city. It would make sense.
God, not the monkeys again. They were lethal in Zero.
You know what? We can go Outbreak Files and we can get some zombie elephants.
Oh no, please not. Maybe maybe even the 1.5 character was Elsa, who was originally meant to be Claire's female
Elsa
character.
Walker.
Yeah, maybe introducing her and the side story would be really a cool thing, in my opinion. Be a missed opportunity if they don't incorporate her.
Yeah, I was gonna say she would be like the perfect fit in that. Just add her into it and just kind of have, I don't know, maybe like I want to say kind of like a DLC type thing, you know. And you can get her side of the story of things.
Yeah. I'm just wondering. Do you think they'll expand on William Birkin and Mr. X as well? A lot more in the game.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, maybe more so with Mr. X, because, I mean, in the game you don't really know much about him, do you? He just kind of appears. Yeah. Anyone want to contribute anything else before we move on to the next bit? Is everyone good? So, what I was going to talk about next, Resident Evil 2 had some pretty kick-ass weapons. Do you think they'll continue that in the remake and give us some unique weapons to use? Anyone want to go first on this? The rail gun, was it? No.
I hope we see the electric gun again. I can't remember what it was called. The Volt Shooter or something.
Yeah. Is it the rail gun?
Claire's weapon that she picks up off.
Or am I making that up?
As you get into the facility, the electric one. I hope we see that again.
I know it shoots an electric charge. I remember that.
I think
yeah, there was some.
I think it might be the railgun actually, but I can't.
Yeah, it would be cool if the just
the top of my
maybe break the boundaries of the guns and release something like mines on the floor or tripwires or something where you can interact maybe a bit more with the actual mansion or like setting up traps would be cool. I mean, if Mr. X is coming, you got to think to yourself, well, I'm getting stalked. I'm going to set a few traps here and there. Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Any thoughts, Yawn, about the weapons?
Nah, I mean, you guys pretty well touched on it. I mean, I'm a fan of what we had. And so, anything they add would just be extra. Just keep the same exact weapons that you have and don't take away anything.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much...
I'm happy with all the weapons that we get, like that we had in the old, but feel free to add a bunch of new ones for sure. You know, unlockables.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm on the same boat as you, to be honest. Yeah. Now it is an interesting one. Do you think the game will introduce an online element to it? Because obviously, when the last one came out, it was 18 years ago. I mean, times have changed in that regard. Anyone want to go first? How about you, Itchy Tasty or Yawn?
I can go first. I've got... So, in the original Resident Evil 2, you are greeted with Scene B and Scenario A, Scenario B. So, I don't know, maybe make it a multiplayer to where you're doing Scenario A and you have your co-op partners doing Scenario B. I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool to do something like that.
Yeah, that would be pretty. That would be pretty interesting and intriguing how they would do that. Any thoughts on that, Itchy Tasty?
I really don't see a whole lot as far as online necessity. I can't really think of a whole lot besides updating the game because they'll patch it a few times. But I mean, as far as like playing with other people, I just don't see anything unless they're going to add a mercenaries mode to it.
Yeah, I mean, I have thought about this, and to be honest, I did have the same thought with Yawn again. I thought it could be interesting if you're playing Claire's scenario and someone else online is Leon, and you kind of crossing paths. That could be an interesting element if they did. But I mean, as long as I haven't got like a co-op player next to me, I think I don't know. I'm intrigued. I mean, they might do something with mercenaries online, which I'm kind of okay with. But yeah. Anyone want to add anything, or are we good to go for the next one? How about you, Itchy Tasty?
I definitely think that Resident Evil 2 will outperform Resident Evil 7. Maybe not in the long haul, but I guarantee you the opening sales numbers, there'll be a drastic difference, I'm pretty sure, because Resident Evil 7 is a gamble, whereas Resident Evil 2, everybody pretty much knows what to expect going in. You're going to have, like Yawn said, everybody that's a fan of Resident Evil is going to buy it, but the expectations are going to be high. So, I mean, Capcom can't go into this thinking it's going to be easy. They need to basically they need to go over all their options and make sure they're reaching out to the fans. Get on the Reddit posts and check look at what all the fans are saying and take us seriously because our expectations are high.
Yeah.
But I do think Resident Evil 2 will outperform Resident Evil 7 for sure.
Do you think it'll outperform it critically as well? As obviously everyone's in agreement that it's going to sell better, but do you think the critics and it's going to get higher, better reviews then? So, anyone want to start? How about you? Go back to you, Itchy Taste.
Hard to say. I think critics are going to be harsh to both games because it seems to me like survival horror is more of a I don't know what you'd say, like there's only so many there's a smaller audience for it because a lot of people just don't have that kind of they can't get behind the concepts of these games, like what these games ask of a player. They survival horror games tend to ask a lot more from a player than say an action shooter or something that's more relaxing to play. So I think that affects reviews a lot. I mean, I've played survival horror games that I thought were amazing, but they got really bad reviews. Yeah. So it's really hard to say with critics.
How about you, Yawn?
I mean, really nothing comes to mind with this because he's got it pretty well nailed on the head. It just depends on how they perform, honestly.
One of the best survival horror games I've played recently was Alien Isolation. I thought that game just was amazing, but you go look at the critics and they were mean to that game.
Yeah. It was a pretty intense game, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it dripped with atmosphere. I mean, it was so loyal to the source material that it was staggering. And I
think probably one of my favorite horror games recently that's non-Resident Evil, Dead Space. So certainly the first two Dead Space, unbelievable games. Dipped it on 3 because they kind of followed the Resident Evil where let's bring more action. That's probably the only one I can think of. The first Dead Space, I mean, I'll put that right up there with some of the Resident Evils, in my opinion. I don't know if you've ever played Dead Space.
I have.
Pretty high quality. I thought they were really good scares. But anyway, we're just going to quickly go on to let's say the scenario is that Remake comes out and it obliterates 7 in terms of sales and the critics. Obviously, Capcom are always thinking about future installments of the game. So they're probably pretty much sitting there now planning 8 and 9 and what direction the series is going. Do you think, obviously, it could force Capcom to pretty much change the plans for 8 if there is a really like a positive thing where right now they could be thinking, right, we'll do first person and then we're going to do first person on 8, and then Remake comes out and it's like, oh my god, let's switch it. We need to switch it to the same style. Do you think that's a possibility?
Absolutely, because... Oh, go ahead.
No, pretty much your first. Go for it, Itchy Tasty.
I think that's absolutely what's going to happen, because that's the reason we're getting Resident Evil 7 the way it is because of Resident Evil 6's poor performance.
I mean, if you look at it, look with number 6. What they did is they brought, the whole Las Plagas thing into the mix, and then they also brought, with Leon's campaign, there was zombies. Yeah, the zombies were a little iffy in that, but I mean, Leon's campaign did better than Chris and Sherry's because of the zombies. So now we're looking at going into 7. They're talking about bringing the zombies back in that. And so I think 6 actually ended up being more, okay, everybody was focused on Leon's. Fans, they showed what they wanted. They wanted zombies. Nobody cares about Las Plagas anymore. Let's go zombies. And then that's where we're at now. So I think it's gonna work the same way. Like you guys said, they're gonna release the 2 games very close, and they're gonna see, okay, do fans prefer this new look that we're doing? Are we gonna run with this, or are we gonna go the old school style and we're gonna stick with that? Because it just depends on where the fans go, because it looks like they're actually paying attention to what the fans want now.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's been a shift in Capcom where they're really taking on board a lot what the fans are asking for and saying, and it's pretty evident, obviously, with the 2 remake and with the change of direction in 6. And any thoughts on this, Itchy Tasty? You've already spoke, haven't you?
Yeah, we've already covered it.
Well, one little question. I'm coming up to the last question, but I just want to add one in dead quick. What year do you expect Remake to come? Are they going to go for the 20-year anniversary of 2? Do you think that's pretty too close to be stupid not to, or any idea?
I think Resident Evil 2 is going to be it for us as far as the remakes. I mean, Code Veronica. I mean, they remastered it not too long ago, and no offense to Capcom, but I mean that remaster is not very. You could tell that they did exactly what they had to do to get it to work on the newer systems, and they didn't do anything special with it at all.
There was no, yeah.
And I mean, honestly, my hopes for 2 are that they do a very good job with Resident Evil 2, and if they don't. If it doesn't come with it, I would like a DLC expansion that basically adds Resident Evil 3 to Resident Evil 2. I mean, on the PlayStation 1, Resident Evil 3 has a lot of Resident Evil 2's assets in it already. Like the police station rooms, and a lot of that was just reused assets. So I don't see why they couldn't do the exact same thing and just make a DLC expansion called Resident Evil 3, or they could just call it the Nemesis expansion pack, you know, and just add it to Resident Evil 2.
Well, I suppose you're thinking of in terms of sales. Would Capcom do that? I mean, they could probably get a whole new revenue. Because at the end of the day, if they released a Nemesis remake, let's face it, we probably all would buy it, wouldn't we? Day one.
I think we would, but...
Oh, you bet.
No worries. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you all, as always. Obviously, we'll be going to be doing loads more Boulder Punch podcasts on different games in the future, and obviously we're going to go back into the Resident Evil 2 remake at some point once there's more information, once we maybe get a grips of some demos, or we see the actual gameplay footage. My name's Rezi. Thanks a lot to Tofu, Itchy Tasty and Yawn for joining me today, and we'll see you soon, and take care. Goodbye.